गुड इवनिंग सभी को। नमस्कार, स्वागत है आपका इस प्लेटफॉर्म पर जिसका नाम है वन मार्क सोल्यूशन। और जैसा कि आप सभी जानते हैं कि लगातार हमारे साथ डिफरेंट सब्जेक्ट्स के डिफरेंट एक्सपर्ट्स इस प्लेटफॉर्म पे जुड़ते रहते हैं, जो कि हमारे सब्जेक्ट से रिलेटेड, चैप्टर से रिलेटेड जो 1 मार्क्स के जो भी क्वेश्चंस होते हैं उनको यहाँ पे डिस्कस करते हैं थ्रू पीपीटी। और 1 मार्क्स के क्वेश्चन जो अभी सीबीएसई ने इंट्रोड्यूस किया है, बहुत ही सॉलिड मार्क्स रहते हैं। आप अगर 1 मार्क्स का क्वेश्चन गलत करके आते हैं तो आपको वो पूरे मार्क्स चले जाते हैं। तो यहाँ पे थ्रू प्रेजेंटेशन, थ्रू एक्सप्लेनेशन, एक एक क्वेश्चन का एक्सप्लेनेशन जो भी एक्सपर्ट्स आते हैं बहुत अच्छे से देते हैं। तो आप लगातार इस सेशन में बने रहिए, लास्ट तक बने रहिए। लास्ट में मैं एक लाइव कमेंट बॉक्स में एक फीडबैक फॉर्म शेयर करूँगी जिसको कि आपको भरना होगा। और पीपीटी से ही जो भी आज का चैप्टर है उससे ही रिलेटेड क्वेश्चंस रहेंगे। 10 क्वेश्चंस रहेंगे। अगर आप 40% इसमें मार्क्स लाते हैं, 4 मार्क्स अगर आप क्वालिफाई करते हैं, देन आपको एक सर्टिफिकेट भी इशू होगा आपकी मेल आईडी पे। तो करेक्ट मेल आईडी डालिएगा उसमें। और आज जो हमारा सेशन है वो क्लास 9th के लिए है, साइंस सब्जेक्ट है और चैप्टर है टिश्यूज़। तो जो आज हमारे साथ रिसोर्स पर्सन मैम है, मैं उनका वेलकम करती हूँ। मैम मोस्ट वेलकम आपका इस प्लेटफॉर्म पे। और मैम ने एक पहले प्रेजेंटेशन एक प्लेटफॉर्म पे दिया हुआ है, द फंडामेंटल यूनिट ऑफ लाइफ क्लास 9th के लिए। और आज मैम का सेकेंड सेशन है क्लास 9th के लिए, साइंस टिश्यूज़ का। तो इसमें 1 मार्क्स पे जो आपके क्वेश्चंस रहेंगे, फिल इन द ब्लैंक्स, एसेसिंग रीजन, ट्रू फॉल्स। जो तो आप लास्ट तक इसको वेबिनार को देखिए। मैम के जो एक्सप्लेनेशन होंगे बहुत ही क्लियर होंगे और आप बहुत अच्छे मार्क्स इस चैप्टर में लेके आएंगे। और ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा इसको शेयर कर दीजिए जिससे कि आपके जो भी और भी फ्रेंड्स हैं वो इसका फ़ायदा उठा सकें। यहाँ पे इस प्लेटफॉर्म पे क्लास 6 से लेके क्लास 12 तक के जो भी सब्जेक्ट्स होते हैं उनके यहाँ पे वेबिनार्स होते हैं 4 से 5 के बीच में। तो आप शेयर कर दीजिए और चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कर दीजिए जिससे कि जो भी अपकमिंग आपके इस रिलेटेड रहते हैं जो उसके नोटिफिकेशन आपको मिलते रहेंगे। तो मोस्ट वेलकम मैम। मैं मैम को हेल्प करती हूँ। और मैम का थोड़ा सा मैं इंट्रोडक्शन दे देती हूँ। मैम का नाम है मरियम फातिमा मैम और मैम का टीजीटी साइंस है, केंद्रीय विद्यालय मानकुट महाराष्ट्र में। और मैम ने एमएससी किया है जियोलॉजी से लखनऊ यूनिवर्सिटी से। तो मैम का एक्सपीरियंस काफ़ी अच्छा है साइंस सब्जेक्ट में। तो आप एंजॉय करिए, लास्ट तक सेशन को एंजॉय करिए और फीडबैक फॉर्म जरूर फिल कर दीजिएगा लास्ट में। थैंक यू सो मच मैम।
Thank you. So let's start. Okay, so today we'll be discussing 1 mark question from the chapter 6 tissues. And as I have previously told you that 1 mark question में किस type के questions आते हैं? They are multiple choice questions, very short answer, assertion and reasoning, fill in the blanks, true and false. Most of it, fill in the blanks and true or false, you are already familiar with. Very short answers also, you have already been introduced in class 6 to 8. And a multiple choice also. Assertion and reasoning is something which is new in class 9th, and this is an interesting one also. So I've already explained to you what is to be done in assertion and reasoning. So let's start, and when we come to the section again, if you have not joined the previous session, we will discuss it once again how assertion and reasoning questions are to be done. So first we'll be starting with multiple choice questions. And the first slide says, choose the correct statement from the following. A tissue is an ensemble of similar cells. B, tissue carry out a specific function. C, organs are formed by the functional grouping together of multiple tissues. And D, all of the above. So by the definition of tissue, we know that it is actually a group. Ensemble is grouping. Okay, so the tissue is a group of similar types of cells and they come together to perform a specific function. So A, B, both are correct. And then in an organism, the organs which are formed are formed together by grouping together of multiple tissues. So C as well is correct. So answer here will be D. All the above statements are true. Coming to the next slide, choose the incorrect statement from the following. A, the collection of tissues joined in unit to serve a common function compose organs. B, plants and animals have same types of tissue. C, with electron microscope, enhanced details can be observed in tissues. D, the appearance of tissue can be examined to diagnose a disease and help in the prognosis. So A, we know that collection of tissues they come together to form a unit which is known as organ in an individual. So A is correct. B, plants and animals can have same types of tissue. This statement is incorrect. So the answer here will be B, because plants and animals have different types of cells. Plants, they do not show movement. They prepare their own food, so their cells are different than those of animal cells. And animals can show movement, which is one of the property which is not shown by plants, as in the sense of physical movements. So plants cannot show physical movement, so their tissues are structured such that they can remain stationary. They can perform all these functions by being stationary at a position. Then D, let's discuss the C and D one also. Electron microscopes with the invention of electron microscope, many enhanced details of the tissues were observed. This is true. And the appearance of tissue can be examined to diagnose a disease and helps in the prognosis of that disease. This is also important. This is the study of tissue is known as histology, and by histology of a tissue, you can come by looking at the cells, the tissues, and the cells, you can know that there is something wrong with the tissue, and then you can it helps us to know that what is wrong with those tissues, and you can get the prognosis of any disease. So the correct answer was B. Coming to the next slide, the meristematic tissues in the plants are. So we know that in plants we have two types of tissue, meristematic tissues and permanent tissues. So meristematic tissues in the plants, how are they characterized? So A1, localized and permanent, B, not limited to certain region, C, localized and dividing cell, and D, growing in volume. So if you know the function of meristematic tissue, that is, they are always in the role of division. So they are always dividing to help in the growth of the plant, and they are localized to certain parts of the plant, and depending on their local position or localization, they have been given different terms also, which will deal in the later slides. So the option here will be C, which is their meristematic tissues are localized to certain parts of the plant, and they are always dividing to, which helps in the growth of the plant. Next slide. Now, this is one of the application of meristematic tissue. If a nail is inserted in the trunk of a tree at a height of 1 meter from the ground level, after 3 years, where will you find this nail? After 3 years, the nail will A, move downward, B, move upward, C, remain at the same position, and D, move sideways. And this is an interesting one. This is here, you know, the type of meristematic tissues are apical, intercalary, and lateral. So when you are inserting a nail in the trunk, it is actually inserting into the lateral tissues, which help in the increment of the girth of the plant, that is the width of the plant increases due to the lateral meristem, whereas the length of the plant increases due to the apical meristem. So here the nail will be inserted into the lateral meristem, so it will not move, its height will not move, because the growth of that is the height of the plant depends on is due to the division in the apical meristem. Okay. So after 3 years, you will find that the nail will remain at the same position, because it is actually inside the lateral tissue, which will increase in only the girth of the tree. It will remain at the same position. Next, the girth of the stem increases due to the girth is actually the you can say width of the stem over here, and it will increase due to, as I told you, there are 3 types of meristematic tissues. One is apical, second is intercalary, and third is lateral. And I have already told you the answer. The answer will be lateral meristem over here. The girth of the stem increases due to the lateral meristematic tissues. Next, which of the following function is not performed by parenchyma cell? Now we come to the permanent tissues in the plants. So permanent tissues are also divided into two types: simple and complex. In the simple one, we have one of the tissues is called as parenchyma. So which of the following function is not performed by the cells which are found in the parenchymatic tissue? So let's see the option. A, it provides mechanical support. B, it can perform photosynthesis. C, it can store nutrient and water. And D, it can modify to have large air spaces. So as you know, the parenchymatic tissues, they are loosely bounded cell. They have large intercellular spaces between them. They perform the function of support, but they do not give mechanical support to the plant. They obviously perform wherever they are present. They perform the role of support, but they do not perform. They do not give the mechanical support, or you can say they do not give the mechanical strength to the plant. Whereas B, C, and D, that is, they perform photosynthesis when parenchyma cells have chlorophyll in them. They can perform photosynthesis. They also are the place for the storage of nutrients and water. And they sometimes they have in the case of aquatic plants, they may have larger spaces which give them buoyancy. Buoyancy allows the aquatic plants to flow on the surface. So all B, C, and D is correct, but A is a wrong wrong function for parenchyma. Parenchyma cell do not give mechanical support. Next is which among the following is incorrect? So let's see the statement. Parenchyma tissue have intercellular spaces. Yes, this is true. B, sclerenchyma tissue have thickened walls due to deposition of lignin. You know this. If you have read properly, sclerenchyma tissues are they do have thick walls, and this is due to the deposition of lignin. Then C, apical and intercalary meristems are permanent tissue. Now this is a doubtful, and let's see the D1 as well. Meristematic tissue in its early stage lack vacuoles. So yes, A, parenchyma cells have large intercellular spaces between them. B, sclerenchyma tissue have deposition of lignin, and due to which the walls become thick. A and B are correct. C is apical and intercalary meristematic are permanent tissue. C is a wrong statement. As you can see, as you know that meristematic tissues are not permanent tissues. They are always dividing, and later on they take the role of these cells which they divide to form. They can take the permanent role. So permanent apical and intercalary meristems are not permanent tissues. D, meristematic tissue in its early stage lack vacuole. This is true, and we'll discuss this in later slides. So the answer is C. Okay, am I audible, Priyanka ma'am? 1 mark
Yes,
question.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Question is going to you. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. You are audible.
Next, which of these vascular cells do not have perforated cell wall? So we have done this one. The answer was C, that is apical and intercalary meristems are permanent tissue. This one was wrong. Next, coming to the next slide, which of these vascular cells do not have perforated cell wall? So coming to the complex permanent tissues, these were parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma are the simple permanent tissue. Then we come to the complex permanent tissue. In complex permanent tissue, the vascular tissues, that is the tissues which perform the role of transport in the plant, they are actually the complex permanent tissues in the plants, and they are divided into two types, which is a question in the coming slides, so I will not tell you the answer. But these tissues are made up of different types of cells. Okay, and each cell has something to do. So they together perform one function, but each cell also performs some function. So you know the tracheids are the elements of xylem, and all the cells of xylem are usually perforated. The two tracheids and vessels which we found in xylem are perforated, whereas sieve tubes and companion cell are the elements of phloem, and in phloem, sieve tubes are perforated, but companion cells are not perforated. Their function is actually to support the sieve tubes, give support to the sieve tube. So companion cells of phloem, they are non-perforated. Answer is B. Next, which is not the function of epidermis. So here we have epidermis, you know, is the outermost layer of the plant. All the parts of the plant, they have an outer layer running throughout it, and this is called as epidermis. This is flattened simple cells. So let's see what is the role. There are 4 roles given to you, and one of them is not the function of epidermis. So A, protection from adverse condition, B, gaseous exchange, C, conduction of water, and D, transpiration. So epidermis, you all know. So I have discussed with you in the previous slide only that the vascular tissues, they perform the conduction of or transport of water and food in the plant. So epidermis role is to provide protection. Also because it is a thin layer, it is a very thin layer and flat cells. So it helps in the diffusion of gases as well, and transpiration also can take place from these cells. So the C option is incorrect. That is, conduction of water will not take place through epidermis. Next is intestine absorbs the digested food. Now we have come to the plant. We have finished with the plant tissues and we have come to the animal tissues. So in animal tissue, intestine absorbs the digested food material. What type of epithelial cells are responsible for it? So starting with animal tissues, the first one which we have is epithelium tissue, and epithelium tissues are divided into many parts. So we have many kinds of epithelial tissue. So one of them is responsible for absorption, and it is present in the intestine. It is actually present everywhere where the role of absorption is to take place. So if you know, the answer is columnar epithelium. They are present in the intestine, and sometimes this columnar epithelium may have cilia as well, where it is actually the passage. So like in the case of esophagus or your nasal pharyngeal passage, that also in those places it may have cilia as well, which actually allows the movement of the substance. Cilia helps in the locomotion, or you can say movement. So it may allow the movement also, as well as it can trap the any external particle which is coming through. So both the roles. So columnar cell may be ciliated as well. Here you should know that absorption, wherever the absorption is taking place, columnar cell will mostly be present. Next is select the incorrect statement from the following. So let's see the statement. A, blood has a matrix containing protein, salts, and hormone. B, 2 bones are connected by ligament. C, tendons are non-fibrous tissue and fragile. And D, cartilage is a form of connective tissue. So let's analyze the statements. A, blood has a matrix containing protein, salts, and hormones. So it is true. Blood की जो matrix होती है, that is known as plasma. It is a fluid matrix and it contains many substances dissolved in it which are transported via blood. So protein, salts, and hormones are some of them. There are many other gases as well which are dissolved in the blood. So A statement is correct. B, 2 bones are connected by ligament. This is also true. The tissue bone is a connective tissue and it is a fibrous connective tissue which is 2 bones are joined by ligament. The statement over here is 2 bones are joined by ligament. So ligament is the connective tissue which joins the 2 bones. So this is also correct. See, tendons are non-fibrous tissue and fragile. Now tendons are not non-fibrous. They are actually fibrous tissue. So this statement is incorrect. They are fibrous tissue. So C statement will be incorrect. D, cartilage is a form of connective tissue. Yes, cartilage is also a form of connective tissue. There are many types of connective tissue, and connective tissue have uh, matrix. So matrix may be fluid or may be dense. So depending on the fluid, the connective tissues may be of different type. The blood is a type of it is having a fluid matrix, so it is a fluid connective tissue, whereas bones and cartilage, they have dense matrix, so they are dense connective tissues. In the case of bones and cartilage, both are fibrous and they are joined by fibrous connective tissue also. So the C statement, that is tendon and non-fibrous, is a wrong statement. Here, okay, coming to the next slide. When we move our organs like hands, legs, etc., which among the following is correct? So it is actually related. The question is related to the joints between muscle and bones, and also depend how the muscle contracts and pulls, and so we are able to move our hands. So let's see what are the muscle fibers doing over here. A statement says smooth muscle contracts and pulls the ligament to move the bone. Okay, so here actually what we have to first analyze is what is the connection between muscle and bones, which is called as the muscle and bones are connected by which joint. So we know that ligament joins two bones together. So this statement will be wrong. D, smooth muscles contract and pull the tendons to move the bone. So now you know that muscle and bones are connected by tendon tissues. So this statement is the correct one, and smooth muscles are able to contract and pull. Okay, because of some proteins which are present in these smooth muscles, contractile proteins. They are known as contractile proteins, and these proteins help the smooth muscles to contract and relax when we want them to. And since these muscles are attached to the bones, they are also called as skeletal muscles in our body, because these are present at the places. Smooth muscles are present over those places which are connected to the bones, and these are actually helping us to move from one place to another. So they have this protein known as contractile protein, which helps in the contraction and relaxation. And this, with the help of this contraction and relaxation, we are able to move the bones according to our will, where we want to move them. So the statement B is the correct statement over here. Let's see the C and D one as well. What is wrong with them? Skeletal muscles contract and pull the ligament. Ligament again is not right over here, because ligament is the connection between two bones. So we actually require our muscles to go for the movement. The combination of muscles and bones together helps our body to move. And day one, skeletal muscles contract and pull the tendon to move the bones. So I think uh, B statement is correct over here, because smooth muscles contract and pull the tendons to move the bones. Actually, smooth muscles is wrong, because they are striated muscles, which are the skeletal muscles. So the D statement will be correct over here, because and striated muscles are the one which are present at the connection of the bones. My mistake. So they are also known as skeletal muscles or striated muscles. Okay, so the D statement is the correct one. Next question is, which among the following muscles set act involuntary? So we have two muscle cells which act involuntary over here. There is one muscles which act voluntarily, as we have discussed in the previous slide, the skeletal muscles, or which is also known as striated muscle. It is also called as voluntary muscle because we are able to move it according to our own will. Okay, skeletal muscles are present at those places which we can move according to our own will. So there are another two sets of muscle fiber which we cannot move according to our own will, and that is called as involuntary. And let's see, striated and smooth muscles. So we know that is striated muscle is voluntary, so this statement is wrong. Smooth muscles and cardiac muscles. So yes, smooth muscles are the involuntary muscles, as well as cardiac muscles are also the involuntary muscles which are present in our body. So the correct option will be B. Smooth muscles and cardiac muscles are the involuntary muscle fibers. Cardiac muscles, let's see the C and D option. Cardiac muscle and skeletal muscle. Skeletal muscle is the striated muscles only, and this is voluntary, so this is also wrong. Cardiac is involuntary, this is correct, but this one is wrong. And striated muscles and skeletal muscles. So skeletal muscle again over here has come, and this is actually striated muscles are your skeletal muscles only. So this also is wrong. So the correct option will be smooth muscles. Wherever smooth muscles are present, those places act involuntary. That is, we cannot stop them according to our will. The function of these muscles are involuntary. That is not, it is not according to our wish that these muscles will move. They will do their function on their own. And similarly, cardiac muscles also, the muscles which are found in the heart, they are called as cardiac, and the cardiac muscles are involuntary. They act involuntarily and they function throughout our life. The cardiac muscles are the one which never fatigues and they work throughout our lifetime. Next is, which one of the following statement is not related to the cardiac muscle? इनमें से कौन सा हमारा cardiac muscle से not related है? So let's see what A. The muscles show rhythmic contraction and relaxation throughout life. So yes, cardiac muscles, because of the help of these muscles only, cardiac muscles are those muscles which are found in the heart. Okay, those muscles are referred to as cardiac muscles, and because of this rhythmic contraction and relaxation of these muscles, that the blood is pumped throughout our body. हमारी body में जो blood flow करता है, it is because of this rhythmic contraction and relaxation of the cardiac muscles. So A is correct. They do not work according to our will, so they are called involuntary muscles. This is also correct because cardiac muscles, they are involuntary muscles. They will work according to their own will, not according to our will. Our will means we cannot stop them or we cannot start their function whenever we want and stop it when we do not wish to, because this is a function which has to be performed by the body all the time, whether we are sleeping, whether we are waking up, or whatever we are doing. The pumping of the blood has to go on in our body. Okay, so the B statement is also correct. Then they are non-striated, multinucleate and branch muscles. So this is which we have to find out whether they are multinucleated and branch muscles. This is correct. They are non-striated. This is not correct. So this, let's see the D statement as well. The contraction and relaxation of the heart muscles help to pump and distribute the blood. So this is correct. Contraction and relaxation of the heart muscles help to pump and distribute the blood. So we come to C option. This is incorrect. They are non-striated and multinucleated. It is wrong. They are branch. Yes, they are branch, but they are not multinucleate and not striated. They are striated. They have only one nucleus in them. Yes, they are branch, but they are branch. That is correct. So we'll choose the C option. Coming to the next slide, nervous tissue is specialized to transmit message within our body. It contains highly specialized unit cells which are called as, so our nervous tissue, the last type of tissue which is formed in our body is nervous tissue, and nervous tissue is helps us to transmit the message from one part of the body, from outside the body to inside, and then from one part of the body to all the parts, to actually our brain, where we come to know what is to be done, and then again it brings the message of what is to be done. So this is performed by a highly specialized cells which are called as, so we have four options over here: neurons, nerves, nephrons, or nervous cells. So I think you know it is called as nerve cells as well as neuron. The special name given to the nervous tissue or the nervous cell is neurons. Okay, the correct answer is neurons. Nerves are not the cells. Actually, nephrons is a unit of kidney. It is found in kidney. नर्वस सेल नहीं बोलते, नर्व सेल बोल सकते हैं हम, या न्यूरॉन बोल सकते हैं हम. दोनों नाम हो सकता है. नर्व सेल भी आप बोल सकते हैं, या उसकी जगह स्पेशलाइज्ड टर्म न्यूरॉन भी यूज किया जाता है. नर्वस सेल नहीं यूज किया जाता है. So the correct answer will be neurons. Okay. So coming to next slide, the nerve cell does not contain which of the following? So nerve cell or neuron, okay, both are same. Nerve cell, either you can call nerve cell or neuron. So neuron का structure अगर आपको याद है तो it does not contain which of the following. So let's see, axon is there. If you remember, the long branch of the neuron is called as axon. It is a branch structure. Neuron is a branched cell, and there is a long branch which is called as axon. Then B, nerve endings. Yes, you have nerve endings. At the end of axon, there are numerous nerve endings which will transmit the signal from one neuron to another. Then tendons. Yes, so we come to the C option. Tendons is a wrong option. Tendons are not present in nerve cell. It is not a part of nerve cell. Then we have dendrites. Dendrites are small branches which arise from the main part of the nerve cell, which is called as cell body. Cell body is a small, many small branches come out which receives the signal. They are called as dendrites. So dendrite is present in the neuron, nerve endings are present, axon is present, but tendon is not present. Tendon is a connective tissue which joins bone to muscles. Okay, yeah, muscles to bone, you can say. So it is not present in nerve cell. Correct option here is tendons. So with this, we come to the end of multiple choice question. We'll come to very short answer type questions now. The first question is, write the name of modified parenchyma tissue, and it can have A and B parts as well. So here I have two parts in the same question. Write the name of modified parenchyma tissue when it can A, perform photosynthesis. So when parenchyma tissues, they have chlorophyll present in them, so they will appear green to you. Parenchyma tissue, these tissues will appear green to you, and they have, obviously they have this pigment called as chlorophyll which will trap the sunlight and perform photosynthesis. So they are known as Sclenrenchyma. In that case, the chlorine, it comes from chlorophyll. So parenchyma will, when they perform photosynthesis, they are called as Sclenrenchyma. And two, when they have large cavities, so in case of aquatic plants, sometimes parenchyma may have large cavities or air space within them, and then they can perform this role. They give the buoyancy to the tissues wherever they are present, and buoyancy means it can help the tissue to float on the surface of the water. So then they are called as parenchyma. So these are the two modification of parenchyma. This question can be asked this way also. Write the two modification of parenchyma tissues. So then also this answer will be there. Don't confuse yourself with chlorenchyma and collenchyma. Collenchyma is another type of simple permanent tissue, whereas chlorenchyma is a modified version of parenchyma only. Okay, sometimes we get confused, and sometimes this question may be asked to you. Write the differentiation between chlorenchyma and collenchyma. So that is a long question we are not discussing over here. Give any two locations where the sclerenchyma tissues are found in plants. So any two locations you have to give where the sclerenchyma tissues are found in the plant. So now you know I have discussed earlier that there are simple permanent tissues are of three types: parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma. So in sclerenchyma are actually the dead tissues, whereas parenchyma and collenchyma are living tissues, whereas sclerenchyma are dead tissues, and wherever they are found, because they are dead, their cell wall has a deposition of lignin. I have to, in the previous few slides we have discussed, I think it was in the starting only, that sclerenchyma टिश्यू की जो सेल वॉल होती है उसमें there is a deposition of substance called as lignin which thickens the cell wall and almost to an extent that the cytoplasm within it almost get very much reduced. So there is sometimes no cytoplasm at all, and because of this deposition of lignin, there can be no exchange with the outside and inside of the cell. So the cell becomes dead, and wherever this lignin, it acts as a cement, and it makes the cell hard and rigid. So wherever they are found, they give structural strength to the those parts, and they are present in vascular bundles. So they give xylem sclerenchyma and phloem sclerenchyma, which there it can be also be called as fibers, because the cell wall becomes very thick and the cytoplasm is very reduced. The cell takes the shape of fiber-like structure. So they are also called as fibers at those places. Xylem fiber and phloem fibers. Those are actually the dead cells which are giving strength over there. And they are also present on the hard coverings of the plants, such as seeds पे जो ऊपर hard cover होता है, that is also made up of sclerenchyma. One good example is coconut के जो fibers होते हैं वो इस sclerenchyma tissue के ही होते हैं. Next question is the chemical substance with waterproof quality which forms a thick waxy coating on the epidermis of the desert plant. Okay, so desert में because plant can lose lot of water because it is very hot, and the water itself in the desert area is very less. So water table is very less. The plant is already getting very small amount of water, and because of the harsh conditions present in desert, that is too much of sunlight and heat, the plants may lose lot of water. So there is certain adaptation in plants which help the leaves and stem to lose very less water, and this is because of a chemical substance which form a thick waterproof covering on the plants. It is known as, the substance is known as cutin. Okay, cutin is a chemical substance, and this layer of cutin will be known as cuticle also because of this chemical substance cutin. The name given to this this covering is cuticle. So ये cuticle it prevents the loss of water through transpiration. जो transpiration से बहुत ज़्यादा पानी लूज हो जाता है वो इस वैक्सी कवरिंग की वजह से, क्यूटिन की वैक्सीन कवरिंग की वजह से कम होता है. Okay, so name the cells which enclose the epidermal pores and regulates their opening. So जैसे कि मैंने अभी डिस्कस किया कि there is a loss of water. So this loss of water takes place through small openings present in the epidermis. Epidermis is the outermost layer of all the plant tissues. So there are small openings in this epidermis, which the structure is called as, the whole structure is called as stomata. Okay. The whole structure of this opening is called as stomata, and it is guarded, or it is surrounded by two cells which are kidney shape in structure, and they actually regulate the opening of stomata, that when the stomata should be fully opened or it should be closed to prevent the loss of water, or to stop the slow down the exchange of gases to outside. all the roles of stomata is discussed in one of the further slide. So I'm not discussing it completely over here. So structure of stomata is made up of two kidney-shaped guard cells. Okay, two kidney-shaped guard cells, and in between there is a small opening which is called as stomata, and this opening is regulated by this guard cell. Next, which of the following helps in the repair of tissue and fills up all the space inside the organ? So we know that we have different organs in our body. So there is the skin outside our body, and then there are organs inside our body. So there must be some spaces in between these organs and our outside covering, that is the skin. So we have to fill this space between the organs and the skin, and there is a tissue which helps in filling up all these spaces, and this is called as areolar tissue in our body, which fills up the space and between the organ and the skin and keeps the organ intact at its place. Otherwise, what will happen? The organs may move here and there inside the body cavity, inside our body cavity. So to keep them fixed at their space, and also to fill the space between our skin and the organs, so this tissue is present, which is known as areolar tissue. Okay, next question is, name the two types of vascular or complex tissue found in the plant. So I told you that plant tissues can be divided into meristematic and permanent, and then permanent again can be divided into simple permanent and complex permanent. And these complex permanent tissues, they play the role of vascular, or you can say transport in the plant. The transport of food and water takes place through them, so they are also called as vascular tissues. Okay, the complex permanent tissues are also called as vascular tissues. So they are of two types, you already know, and we have discussed it earlier also, that there are two types: xylem, which conducts water in the plant, and phloem, which conducts food in the plant. And I'll tell you a little bit that xylem conducts water, and it is the conduction of water is unidirectional. That is, only in one direction the water is transported in xylem, whereas phloem is bidirectional. That is, it can transport food in both the direction, upward direction as well as downward direction. Okay, and they are made up of certain cells. So these are called as complex tissue because they are made up of different types of cells. All the cells of xylem are not of same type. They are made up of four elements. In the case of xylem, it is tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma, and xylem sclerenchyma, or you can say xylem fibers as well. And in the case of phloem, there are four elements which are sieve tubes, companion cell, phloem parenchyma, and phloem sclerenchyma, phloem fibers, you can say. So the two main important one in xylem is tracheids and vessels. Both are perforated cell, and they both help in the transport of water from in upward direction, always from the roots to the upward direction, that is upper part of the plant. But in the case of phloem, sieve tubes and companion cell are the two one which is participating in the translocation of food, and they are bidirectional. That is, food can be transported in both direction, upward as well as downward. Next, we have the skin cells are arranged in many layers to prevent wear and tear. Okay, so our skin is made up of many layers. So the tissue which is making up has many layer of cells, and this is an epithelial tissue, which is the epithelial tissue which is found in your skin. So we know that the skin is made up of epithelial tissue, but which of the? I told you earlier that in animal, the epithelial tissue is divided into various kinds. So the epithelial tissue which is found in the skin, you have to name that one, and that is stratified squamous. Squamous are flat and thin tissue. Squamous tissues are made up of flat and thin tissues. So wherever there is squamous tissues are of two types. They can be simple squamous or they can be stratified squamous. Simple squamous are found over the places where there should be diffusion of gases, where diffusion of gases or transport of material has to take place against the membrane. So at those places you will find simple squamous, only one thin layer of squamous cell, and these are very thin cells, also flat also. So easy exchange of gases or other materials can take place, like you can see in the case of in the case of lung tissues, alveoli, or because there the exchange of gases has to take place, or in the case of blood vessels where the transport of gases and other materials have to take place, there you will find simple squamous. But in the case of skin, if simple squamous will be there, then anything from outside can enter into our body. So here what happens is the squamous tissue will form several layer and layer and layer, so that it becomes a little bit thicker, and the uppermost layer becomes almost dead. Okay, and the basement layer will actually provide the nutrition to the upper layer. So when the squamous tissues are arranged in many layers, they are called as stratified squamous, and this is actually to prevent the wear and tear at those places, especially in our skin. The wear and tear, when we get small wear and tear, we do not start bleeding because it is due to the stratified squamous, because we have several layers of squamous cells which is preventing the inside of our body. Then coming to the next one, when the epithelial cell acquire additional specialization, such as in the case of salivary glands, then they are also known as. So I told you epithelial tissues are of many types, squamous, cuboidal, depending on their shapes, we can name them as squamous, cuboidal, columnar, and then squamous can be simple squamous, stratified squamous. Then we have columnar, may be ciliated or non-ciliated, and then we have cuboidal. So in the case of cuboidal, sometimes epithelial cells, they form a invert they form an inversion inside, and then they start secreting something. So they actually become like gland-like, and these are then called as glandular epithelium. When they start the role of secretion, like in all the glands which we have, glandular epithelium is present because they secrete something. Okay, so they are glands, and glands perform the role of secretion, so they are known as glandular epithelium. Like you see in the case of salivary glands, lacrimal glands, all these are made up of glandular epithelium. Next, we have name the type of blood cells which help in the clotting of the blood if there are small cut or injuries. So, we know that blood is a fluid connective tissue. There is a fluid matrix which is known as plasma, and then there are three types of cells which are found in the blood. And you must be knowing them because you've been studying them from I think class 6, 7th only. So RBC, WBC, and platelets. So out of RBC, WBC, and platelets, which one perform the clotting of the blood? So I think many of you will know this answer. That is, platelets will perform the blood clotting in the. If we get small cuts or injuries, suppose just now we discussed that stratified epithelium prevents our body from wear and tear, but if you get a little bit deeper cut, that your this cut reaches the blood vessel, and then small cut is there, obviously it should not be a very long cut, then it will be difficult to stop the clotting, to stop the bleeding. But if there is a small cut, our body can clot itself. The blood will clot itself with the help of these platelets which are found in the blood itself. So the answer is platelets over here. Coming to the next one. Name the two mineral substance which makes the bone matrix rigid and hard without making it brittle. So, as you know, the blood is a connective tissue which has a fluid matrix. Now we come to the another type of connective tissues where the matrix is very rigid, and this is rigid and hard. In the case of bone, it is very rigid and hard. There are two rigid type of matrix, but one is bone and another one is cartilage. In the case of bone, it becomes very rigid and hard due to the presence of two mineral ions or mineral substances, which you can say. And this is calcium and phosphorus. Calcium and phosphorus compound, they make the bone matrix very rigid. But it should not be brittle also, that it breaks all the time. So without making it brittle, brittle means which can crack easily. So the bone will not crack very easily also, but it will, at the same time it will be rigid and hard due to the presence of calcium and phosphorus compound present in it. So there is a difference between the matrix of bone and cartilage. So we'll discuss about cartilage in later slide. Here you know that the matrix of bone becomes very hard because of the presence of calcium and phosphorus compounds. Next is a person met with an accident. Suppose this is an application question. You have been given an application question. A person met with an accident in which two long bones of his hand were dislocated. So now two bones have been dislocated. So you should know the joint between the two bones over here. The breakage of which connective tissue may be the possible reason for this. So he has dislocated two of his bones. So the connection between two bones is known as ligament. And due to the breakage of this ligament tissue, there was dislocation. Okay, so the possible reason is that the ligament which was joining the two bones may have been broken, and that is why this dislocation has taken place. Okay, next question is, name two locations where smooth muscle cells can be found in your body. So smooth muscle cells are spindle-shaped cells, and they are uninucleate, and wherever they are present, they perform involuntary function, which are not the under our control. And smooth, it is smooth, so we have to name the two involuntary muscles, except for the cardiac heart muscles. Heart हम नहीं name कर सकते, heart भी हमारी involuntary होती है, but it is known as cardiac muscle. So all the muscles are of heart is known as cardiac only. But here we have to give the muscle involuntary functions, which is performed by smooth muscle cell. So it can be in the alimentary canal का कोई भी आप कोई भी organ ले लीजिए, जैसे कि stomach है, intestine है, they are all made up of smooth cells. Then even in your excretory system, the ureter is there. In the case of females, the uterus is also made up of smooth muscle cells. So ureter is different and uterus is different. Both have smooth muscle cells. Okay. So stomach, intestine, uterus, your even the muscles found in your eyes, some of the muscles of your eyes, and so all these are smooth muscle cells which can perform their functions involuntarily. That is, we cannot control them. Once the food goes inside your body, it cannot be controlled by you. The movement of the food will take place on its own by the help of these smooth muscles. Then next, name the main part of neuron which contains the nucleus and cytoplasm. So the last is nervous system में जो neuron होता है हमारा, the nervous system is made up of nerve cell, which is also known as neuron. So the structure, this question is also related to the structure of neuron, and in the if you have seen or studied the structure of neuron properly, you have one main part where the nucleus and the cytoplasm of the neuron present in over there only. So that part is known as cell body. In your book it is written as cell body, and it has been given a special name also, which is known as cyton. So cyton is the main part of the neuron where the nucleus of the neuron and cytoplasm of the neuron is present. Okay. Then give the name of the numerous small branches which arise from the cell body of the neuron. तो cell जो ये हमारा साइटोन है, इससे छोटे छोटे ब्रांचेस निकलते हैं बहुत सारे, which receives the signal, okay, from the other neuron or other muscles. Your neuron may be joined to your muscle or another neuron, okay, by a joint which is known as synapse, okay. And this, at this synaptic junction, there will be some chemical released or some electrical signals which will be released. So these are received by the small branches which are present on this cyton or cell body of the neuron, which will then transmit it again forward. So these small branches which receive the signal, they are called as dendrites. Okay, dendrites will receive the signal, then bring it to the main body of the neuron, that is cyton, where the nucleus will then again help in the transmission of the signal to forward, and then there will be a long branch which will be known as axon. It will be transmitted through axon, and then there will be nerve ending at which some chemicals, the messages are delivered in two form, either in the form of chemicals or in the form of electric signals. So at the nerve ending, any of these two may take place. Electrical signals may be released or chemical signals may be released, and then again another neuron will be present whose dendrites will receive it. Okay, and that location is known as synapse, where the two neurons are meeting or a muscle or neuron is meeting. So with this, we come to the end of one word question. Priyanka ma'am, I think I am audible.
Yes, ma'am. You are audible.
Okay. So next we come to the third section, that is assertion and reasoning. So assertion and reasoning, if you have watched the previous video also, in which we have discussed about assertion and reasoning, that two statements will be given to you, and in both the statements you have to check whether the two statements are correct in themselves. And one of the statement will be assertion, that is a conclusion based on the other statement. The other statement will be given as a reason. Okay, and you have to analyze whether the two statements are both correct. First of all, you have to analyze this, that both are correct or not. So, and then you have to analyze that the assertion statement which is given, उसका जो रीजन नीचे दिया है, the reason statement is actually explaining the assertion or not. जो रीजन में स्टेटमेंट दिया है वो assertion को explain कर रहा है कि नहीं. Maybe the two statements may both be correct, but the reason which is given may not be explaining the assertion, or the assertion means conclusion which you may have derived. So the reason is explaining the assertion properly or not. If it is not explaining, then you have an option. If both the assertion and reason are correct, and the reason, the statement of reason is explaining the assertion, then you will mark it as 1, or A may be given to you, A option. Then you have second option, if both assertion and reason are true, दोनों correct हैं, but reason is not the correct explanation of assertion. So here in this case, both the statements will be correct, but reason is not explaining assertion. Then you have third, if assertion is true but reason is false. अगर assertion correct है but reason जो उसका दिया हुआ है वो statement ही false है. 4, you will mark 4, if reason is true, reason का जो statement दिया है वो सही statement है, assertion का statement गलत दिया हुआ है, conclusion जो निकाला हुआ है वो गलत निकाला हुआ है. और 5 आप मार्क करेंगे अगर both assertion और reason के जो statement दिए हैं वो ही wrong है, then you will mark 5. And you may be written A B C D as well, A B C D E. फिर आपको क्वेश्चन दिए होंगे और फिर उस क्वेश्चन में आपको A लिखना है या B लिखना है, 1 2 3, यहाँ पे आपको 1 2 3 4 लिखना है कि कौन सा सही ऑप्शन है उसके लिए. So let's start with this. So assertion given is meristematic cells have very less cytoplasm with no nuclei and vacuoles. So I told you in one of the slides that we will discuss this. So here we will discuss it. Meristematic cells, because they are not permanent cells, they are always in the role of division, and they are actually present at those places where the cells are always dividing. So they have very thick cytoplasm. First of all, you know that they have dense cytoplasm, which is always in the mode of division. उसके जो सारे organelles रहते हैं, वो division के state में रहते हैं. And there is a very prominent nucleus. Nucleus is always very prominent in meristematic tissues because nucleus is the center which controls the division of the cell. So it will be very dense in the case of meristematic tissue. Vacuoles will not be present in meristematic tissues because what is the role of vacuole actually? Vacuole stores the cell sap or stores the chemicals or important substance or excretory substance of the cell in the form of cell sap. Because these cells are always dividing, they are not taking up any role in the plants. Therefore, they do not have vacuoles. There is no role of vacuole over here. So this statement is wrong. Meristematic cells have dense cytoplasm. They have prominent nuclei. Yes, they don't have vacuoles. This part is correct. Meristematic cells do not have vacuoles because they are always dividing, and they are not taking up any permanent role. So there is no stored cell sap in it. There is no need of storing cell sap in these cells. So they lack vacuoles. So the assertion statement is wrong. Let's see the reason statement. Meristematic cells take up specific role in the plants. This statement is also wrong. Meristematic cells are dividing cells. They do not take up specific roles. After the cell division has taken place, and then the cell will acquire some role, and then they become permanent cell by a process which is known as differentiation. Differentiation बोलते हैं उसको. जब differentiation हो जाता है meristematic cell का, then they take up any permanent role in the plant or a specific role in the plant. Then they are known as permanent cells. Then they are not known as meristematic cells. So both the statements are wrong, and so we will choose the option number 5, which says that both A and R are false statement. They are not true statement. Both are false statement. Next assertion is stomata helps in photosynthesis, respiration, and transpiration in the plant. So I told you that the role of stomata will take up later in one of the slides. So here I am taking up the role of stomata. Actually, stomata are small. Epidermis, I told you, is the outermost covering of all the parts of the plant. And then there in this epidermis, there are certain pores present at some places. So these pores allow the exchange of materials from outside to inside, and mostly in the form of gas or water. The exchange will take place. So, and why these gases are important? Because the plant also will take respiration. It will perform respiration. It has to perform transpiration, जिससे कि water loss होता है plant से. Respiration क्योंकि plant को भी oxygen चाहिए. And photosynthesis is most of all very important because plants have to prepare their own food. Plants are autotrophic, so they have to prepare their own food. And for photosynthesis, if you remember, the raw materials which are very, very important is carbon dioxide, water. So carbon dioxide has to come inside the plant, and this will come inside through these small openings which are called as stomata. Okay, so gaseous exchange is important for all these three: photosynthesis, respiration, and transpiration. And all these will take place through an opening which is stomata, which is present on the epidermis. Okay, तो ये हमारा correct statement है. Reason देख लें. Reason statement says stomata are structural opening present in the epidermis that allow the exchange of gases. So for all these processes, exchange of gas has to take place. During photosynthesis, carbon dioxide will be taken in, and then oxygen is released also. So both the exchange of gases has to take place. Carbon dioxide has to come in, and oxygen has to be released by the plant. So for this exchange of gases will take place. Then again respiration. During respiration, the plant will take in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide. So for that also exchange of gases has to take place. Then again, transpiration is a loss of water by the plant in the form of water vapor. So in the form of gas only, the water is lost by the plants, and this transpiration actually helps the plant to cool down. This process is also very, very important for the plant so that it can cool down, and also because water has to be absorbed from the roots of the plant, so there should be some suctional pull will help in the upward movement of the plant. So that is also a role of transpiration. So yes, both the statements are correct, and this statement that stomata are the structural opening in the epidermis that allow the exchange of gases, this is also correct statement, as well as it is explaining why photosynthesis respiration is actually controlled by stomata. So option which you will select over here is option number 1. Both assertion and reason are correct, are true, and reason is explaining the assertion. It is correctly explaining the assertion. Coming to the next slide. Xylem is a complex tissue which conducts water to all the parts of the plant. Statement is correct. We have already discussed complex tissues, and xylem is one of them. And they are also known as vascular tissue. That is, that the conduction of something will take place, and xylem is responsible for transport of water. So this assertion is true. Reason, let's see the reason. Reason says that xylem tissue is only made up of parenchyma and fiber elements. So reason statement over here is wrong. So we'll choose the option number 3, which says that assertion is true, but reason is false. Reason is not explaining the assertion properly, because xylem is made up of 4 elements. Tracheids and vessels are the main component which is helping in the conduction of water actually. And parenchyma and fibers जो xylem के cell third and fourth cell होते हैं, main 2 cells are tracheids and vessels, which are actually helping in conduction of water. And parenchyma and fibers are present there to act. Parenchyma is present to give support or fill up the spaces, and fibers is actually given to give the structural strength. Xylem fibers, which are the sclerenchyma actually, which are giving the structural strength. So these are providing additional support and additional role. The main role is performed by vessels and tracheids. So here the assertion statement is correct, but the reason statement is not correct. Then the next assertion statement says companion cell facilitates the movement of food in the sieve tubes. तो अब हम पैरेंकाइमा पे आ गए, और पैरेंकाइमा के जो एलिमेंट्स हैं वो कंपेनियन सेल्स और सीव ट्यूब्स जो है मेन एलिमेंट्स हैं. और इसमें ये assertion क्या कह रहा है? In the assertion statement it is saying companion cell facilitates the movement of food in the sieve tube. So कंपेनियन सेल का जो रोल होता है वो फैसिलिटेट करना होता है, बिकॉज कंपेनियन सेल्स एक्चुअली क्या होते हैं, बहुत सारा माइटोकॉन्ड्रिया होता है, तो एनर्जी बहुत होती है. तो इसी एनर्जी की वजह से एक्टिव ट्रांसपोर्ट ऑफ फूड विल टेक प्लेस इन सीव ट्यूब. सीव ट्यूब के अंदर इसका तो कंपेनियन सेल हेल्प करता है फैसिलिटेट करने को मूवमेंट के फूड को. ये तो करेक्ट स्टेटमेंट है. Let's see the reason. Companion cells of phloem are non-perforated. So ये जो statement है ये correct है. Companion cells of phloem are non-perforated cells. Companion cells जो होते हैं वो non-perforated cell होते हैं. आपने जो xylem में देखा था, xylem में vessel और trachea दोनों perforated होते हैं. पानी का बहुत ज्यादा मूवमेंट होना है और इसलिए perforation की बहुत वहाँ ज्यादा जरूरत होती है. और parenchyma और sclerenchyma जो है सपोर्ट के लिए होते हैं. पर जो फ्लोएम की हम बात करते हैं, तो फ्लोएम में देयर आर 4 टाइप्स ऑफ सेल. कंपेनियन सेल, सीव ट्यूब. इसमें सीव ट्यूब तो परफोरेटेड होते हैं, पर कंपेनियन सेल का जो रोल होता है वो एक्चुअली जो है सीव ट्यूब्स को सपोर्ट देने का और एनर्जी प्रोवाइड करने का होता है. इसलिए कंपेनियन सेल में माइटोकॉन्ड्रिया तो बहुत ज्यादा होता है, जो कि एनर्जी एक्टिव ट्रांसपोर्ट में एनर्जी देने के लिए रिस्पॉन्सिबल होता है, पर परफोरेशन नहीं होता कंपेनियन सेल में। ये स्टेटमेंट तो करेक्ट है, लेकिन इसकी वजह से नहीं होता फैसिलिटेट मूवमेंट। फैसिलिटेट मूवमेंट इसलिए होता है क्योंकि कंपेनियन सेल्स आर rich in mitochondria, so therefore it facilitates the movement. So both the statements are correct, but the reason given is not explaining the assertion. So we will choose option number 2, which says both A and R are correct, but R is not explaining A. R is not the correct explanation of A. Okay. So next, coming to the next slide, assertion says that cartilage is found in the bones of inner ear and base of our nose. Okay, so let's discuss over here what is cartilage actually. Cartilage is also a type of connective tissue in which the matrix is dense, but it is not very hard as it is in the case of bones. In the case of bones, the matrix have calcium and phosphorus compound which make the bones very hard. But in the case of cartilage, the matrix does not have calcium and phosphorus, but they have some other sugar and proteins present in it, which is not making it very hard. Okay. So let's see, and where are cartilage found? They are found at those places where the place need not be very rigid. उस प्लेस को बहुत रिजिड नहीं होता है, वो हम इजीली बेंड कर सकते हैं या मूव कर सकते हैं, जैसे कि टिप ऑफ आवर नोज. सो आवर टिप ऑफ आवर नोज एंड external ear, that is pinna. Okay, the external ear we can bend it also. So here, but here what it is saying that the bones of our inner ear is not made up of cartilage. Inner ear have actual bones which are they are the smallest bone in our body, but they are actually bones, not cartilage. Okay. And then base of our nose, so this is not it is not at the base of our nose, it is actually at the tip of our nose. So assertion statement is wrong. Reason says that in cartilage the matrix is made up of protein and sugar which makes it softer. So this statement is correct. The cartilage matrix is made up of protein and sugar. That is why it is a bit softer and can be bent, whereas bones are very rigid and hard, they cannot be bent. So here we will choose statement number 4, which say reason is correct, but assertion is false. Reason is true, but assertion is false. Okay, next statement is assertion blood is a connective fluid which transport gases, food, hormones and waste material in the body. As discussed earlier also, blood is a fluid connective tissue because the matrix is fluid actually over here, and which transport gases, food, hormones and waste material. Yes, it transports food. So blood is actually a connective tissue because here actually the role of transport is more important in the case of blood, but actually it is through this transportation only it is connecting all the parts of the body. Therefore, it is called as a connective tissue. So the statement is correct. Assertion statement is correct. Let's come to the reason. Blood cells are embedded in a hard solid matrix which is called as plasma. Blood cells जो है embedded होते हैं hard solid matrix में. So again here this is wrong. The matrix in the case of blood is actually a fluid, not solid, and it is called as plasma. That is correct, but it is not solid. It is actually a fluid which allows the movement of blood cells, which gives the fluidity to the blood so that it can be moved from one place to another place. So here what happens? Assertion is correct, but reason is wrong. The statement of assertion is true, but the statement of reason is wrong. A is true, but R is false. Next assertion, the muscles in the iris of the eye are voluntary muscles. Okay, let's check. The smooth voluntary muscle cells are those which are in control of us, and that means we can control these muscles according to our will. If we want to move, we can move them. If we want to stop, we can stop stop them. So let's see. The iris of our eye is actually the muscles which controls the opening of our eye, which is known as pupil. जो pupil opening होती है हमारी eye की, it will take the signal from outside. Whether if the light is very much, so the pupil will contract because iris muscle will contract it so that the opening becomes small if the light is too much. If the light is very less outside, the iris will relax and it will open up much. It will give a large opening so that maximum light can be taken by your eye. And this is not according to our will. It is done involuntarily. It is not a voluntary action. It is an involuntary action which is performed by our body. So this is wrong. Actually, iris cells are smooth muscle cells which are involuntary in function. So assertion statement is wrong. Iris muscles are made up of striated muscle fibers. So this also is wrong because iris muscles are made up of smooth muscle fibers and they are involuntary in function. The function is performed involuntarily. So the correct option is 5. That is both A and R are false statement. Both the statement are false. Okay. Then assertion statement. The heart of a person pumps blood and function for lifetime. जो heart होता है person का वो blood pump करता है lifetime के लिए. तभी that is how the blood circulation takes place. Even while you are sleeping, the heart is pumping your blood and it is transporting oxygen and other important substance throughout your body for a lifetime. Lifetime means since the birth of the person takes place till his death, till his or her death. So the cardiac muscles are the muscles which function throughout the lifetime of a person. This is a correct statement. Then reason given is that cardiac muscles are involuntary and works without ever getting fatigue. This is also correct and it is actually explaining the assertion. So heart is made up of cardiac muscle fibers and cardiac muscle fibers are involuntary. They are not under our control. They work independently and they are involuntary in function. That is, they will function without our permission and they function without getting fatigue because they have to work from your birth till the death of a person. So that is why they never get tired. They can't get tired. If they get tired, then this pumping of blood will not take place, which is very important for living. So here correct option is 1, that is assertion statement is correct and the reason is explaining assertion. Next statement is nerve impulse allow us to move our muscles when we want to. So nerve impulse जो होती है हमारी nervous system. Now we come to the relationship between nervous system and our muscular system. हमारी जो muscles हैं और nerves हैं उनके बीच में कनेक्शन होते हैं, जंक्शंस होते हैं और नर्व्स ही हमारा ब्रेन सिग्नल सेंड करता है व्हेन वी वांट टू मूव आवर हैंड, व्हेन वी वांट टू मूव आवर लेग्स. So actually the signal is coming from our brain. We are thinking that we want to move. So that impulse will come from your brain through a nerve and it will come to our muscles and then we will move that muscles. Okay. So this statement is correct. The nerve impulse allow us to move our muscles when we want to. We want to. ये want ही हमारा जो है brain से आता है. ठीक है, brain से signal आता है कि we want to move. Okay. Now the reason. So this statement is correct. Let's see the reason. The reason is muscles have contractile protein which can contract and relax to cause movement. ठीक है, अब ये स्टेटमेंट तो करेक्ट है. मसल्स के अंदर कॉन्ट्रैक्टाइल जो हमारी मसल्स होती हैं और मोस्टली जो हमारी स्केलेटल मसल्स होती हैं या जो हमारे लिम्स में हैंड और लेग्स लिम्स होते हैं, हमारे लिम्स में जो मसल्स पाई जाती हैं उनमें स्ट्रिएटेड मसल फाइबर होते हैं जिनके अंदर कॉन्ट्रैक्टाइल प्रोटीन होता है जो उनको कॉन्ट्रैक्ट और रिलैक्स करने में हेल्प करता है. This statement is correct, but it is not actually explaining this assertion. So, nerve impulse, because nervous system and muscular system, they both combine and form a unit to allow the movement of the body, and that there are connections which is present between nerve cell and muscle cells, which will help for this impulse to be transmitted to the muscle. So that is another. This is another statement that muscles have contractile protein. Skeletal muscles have contractile protein, which will cause the movement. Both the statement in themselves are correct, but they are not. This reason is not explaining the assertion. So we will choose option number 2, which says that both A and R are true, but R is not explaining, not the correct explanation of it. Okay, so next one is nerve cells or neurons are usually long and have numerous branches. So nerve cell जो हमारी होती हैं वो बहुत long होती हैं and they have numerous branches. The statement is true. Nervous system में जो neuron जो cells होती हैं, nerve cells हमारी, they are very very long because actually if you look at the function of nervous system or nervous tissue is that to take the information from one part of the body to other part of the body, and for that they have to travel long distances, and that is why they are long and numerous branches which will actually allow them to have a larger surface area for the transmission to be received and also to be transmitted, both things. So let's see the reason. Reason says that long branch structures help them to receive and transfer messages from all the parts of the body. So in this way, if they are branched, so that is how they can receive signals from all the parts. Okay, and this will increase the surface area so that if any part is giving the message, it is received quickly, very quickly. So here we will choose option number 1, that is both the statements are correct and reason is correctly explaining the assertion. Okay, so we come to the fourth part, that is fill in the blanks. And so the first statement is the living cells of parenchyma tissue are and thickened and the quarters. So we have to tell the shape of the parenchyma over here. And parenchyma tissues, if you remember, I have discussed about parenchyma and sclerenchyma, but parenchyma we have not discussed in detail. Parenchyma are living tissues. Okay, so here I have written the living cells. Parenchyma are living cells, but they do not have, they are not very loosely packed. They are, because of certain deposition at only at the corners of the. In the case of sclerenchyma, the whole cell wall is deposit, and there is some deposition, and the substance is lignin. Here, the deposition is not in all the entire cell wall, but only at the corners. So we will say that parenchyma tissues are elongated होते हैं shape में, and they are irregularly thickened at the corner, because regular thickening नहीं है कि throughout the cell wall regular thickening हो, it is irregularly thickened. And so these two things define the shape of parenchyma cells. Parenchyma are living cells. Then we have next statement, cork, which is also the bark of the tree. When the tree becomes very, very old, it attains grain height. You must have seen that all the long trees or those which are tall trees, they have the outer covering of the stem has had cork cells. These cells are actually the wood which we use is actually made up of these cells only, and they become dead. They become dead due to the thick deposition of suberin, another chemical compound which get deposited in the outer stem part of the tree. is suberin. It is a chemical substance which get deposited in the cell wall of the outer stem when the plants attain tall heights. All the tall plants have these bark, and the cells are then called as cork because they also become dead. Just like Sclenrenchyma, they also become dead. But here the deposition is different. Here the deposition is of suberin. In the case of Sclenrenchyma, it is of lignin. Here it is of suberin. And this deposition also makes the cell dead because the cell wall is completely impervious. Cell wall becomes impervious. Impervious means it does not allow the entry of anything from outside. And mainly here, what will be, as I told you, epidermis actually allows the movement of gases and water. So here the cork makes cork cells make the older stem impervious to water and gases. Okay, they do not perform the role of photosynthesis. Then the stem, which becomes very old, they acquire brown color also. Because of this cork only, they lose the green pigment, that is chlorophyll, and become brown in color because now they can't perform photosynthesis as they cannot attain gases and water from outside. Next is meristematic tissues are those which help in increasing the, so meristematic tissues जो होते हैं, they are of three types and they are actually responsible for increasing the length and the girth of the plant. So both the lengthwise also and breadth. girth यहाँ पे बोला जाता है plant की जो breadth जो होती है उसको हम girth बोलते हैं. So length and girth both are increased due to meristematic tissues. Length is due to apical meristem and girth is due to the lateral and also intercalary also. Then we have next slide that the dash tubes and dash cells are the two conducting elements found in the phloem tissue. Phloem tissue, we know that they are made up of 4 elements in which 2 are mainly responsible for conducting the food, and these are known as sieve tubes and companion cells. So first one we will write sieve tubes and the second one is the companion cells which are helping the conduction of nutrients or food elements in the phloem tissue. Next is adipose tissue stores dash in the body. So adipose tissue is again another type of connective tissue in the body. We have read about, we have discussed actually about blood, bone, cartilage. I also told you about areolar, which is a packaging tissue between our skin and internal organs. And then there is another adipose tissue is also another tissue which actually stores fat in our body. Below our skin layer, there is another layer of fat present, and this fatty layer actually acts as a cushion for the internal organs. So, हमारा first blank will be filled by fats and the second will be for organ. ये जो fat store होता है, it is again just below your skin. Adipose tissue is found below your skin and it acts as a cushion so that your internal organs don't get hurt from any external blow that you get, any external injury that you get, so that there is not even by a simple push or even by a simple blow that you get from outside, of course if it is a very huge blow from outside or somebody has kicked you too hard or there is some pointed material pointed thing which is inserting, then of course it can give you injury. But by simply falling down or by simply simply hitting you, not with a very large force, you don't get injuries. It is because of this adipose tissue which gives a cushion to your internal organs. Also, another function of adipose tissue is to regulate your temperature. It does not allow the heat from inside the body to go outside. So it also regulates the temperature of your body, so that heat is This fatty layer does not allow the heat to go outside. Next is the connective tissue which connects bone to the muscles are called dash, while which connects two bone together are called dash tissue. So the connective tissue, there is another type of connective tissue which connects bone to muscles is called as tendons, and while which connect two bones together are called as ligament. So these are also connective tissues because they are actually connecting some parts of your body. Two bones are connected by ligament, and bone and muscles are connected by tendons. Then our limbs have dash muscles fiber due to which we can perform dash actions freely. So हमारे limb में कौन से muscles होते हैं? Limbs are your hand and legs. So these are the muscles which are attached to the skeleton of our body. That is the bones of our body. जो large bones हैं जिनकी वजह से हमारी body movement possible हो पाते हैं. And body movement are which type of action? So we have to remember both the things that हमारे जो मसल्स जो हमारे स्केलेटन से अटैच्ड होती हैं वो स्ट्रिएटेड मसल्स होती हैं. उनको स्केलेटल मसल भी बोला जाता है, उनको स्ट्रिएटेड मसल्स भी बोला, स्टायरेटेड मसल भी बोला जाता है, उनको वॉलंटरी मसल्स भी बोला जाता है. बट स्ट्राइएटेड इज द कॉमन वर्ड विच वी यूज फॉर देम. स्ट्राइएटेड मसल्स and these can perform which we because of these striated muscle we can perform voluntary action which is according to our will. हम अपनी will के according कर सकते हैं movement. हम अपने hand और legs के जो movement होते हैं जो कि हमारे limbs हैं, hands and legs, these are our limbs and these movement are our voluntary movements जो हम अपने कंट्रोल में रखते हैं. We can move our hand when we want to, when we can move from one place to another place with the movement of our legs whenever we want to. Okay, next coming to the cells of smooth muscles are dash shaped and have dash nucleus. So I have already told you striated muscles, the name comes from striation. When you see them under a microscope, there will be light and dark band. So the name striation has come from that. So they can also be called as unsmooth muscles. They also called as skeletal muscles because they are joined to our skeleton or bones. They are also called as voluntary muscles. So all these was about striated, and they are usually found in our legs, in our hands, etc., by which we perform voluntary action. So the next muscle fibers is smooth muscle fibers, and smooth muscle fibers are spindle shaped. They are striated muscles की जो shape थी वो cylindrical होती है और multinucleate होती है, multinucleus होता है, जबकि smooth muscle cells हमारी स्पिंडल शेप के हो जाते हैं, पॉइंटेड एट बोथ द एंड्स. जो दोनों एंड पे पॉइंटेड हो उस शेप को हम स्पिंडल शेप बोलते हैं. और न्यूक्लियस यहाँ पे सिंगल न्यूक्लियस होता है, इसलिए इनको यूनिन्यूक्लिएट भी बोलते हैं. स्मूथ मसल सेल्स आर इनवॉलंटरी इन एक्शन. ठीक है, और इनका शेप होता है स्पिंडल और न्यूक्लियस इनके पास सिंगल होता है. ये वहां पाई जाती हैं जहां इनवॉलंटरी एक्शन होते हैं हमारी बॉडी के. जैसे कि मैंने आपको बताया था एलिमेंट्री कैनाल इज वन वेरी गुड एग्जांपल. हमारा पूरा एलिमेंट्री कैनाल माउथ के नीचे जाते ही मूवमेंट ऑफ द फूड इज नॉट अंडर अवर कंट्रोल, इट इज इन द कंट्रोल ऑफ स्मूथ मसल्स. फिर स्मूथ मसल्स उसको अपनी तरह से कंट्रोल करती हैं, हमारे कंट्रोल में नहीं रहता. तो जब भी हमारे कंट्रोल में नहीं रहते मूवमेंट उनको हम इनवॉलंटरी मूवमेंट कहते हैं. स्मूथ मसल सेल्स ये सारे मूवमेंट हमारे परफॉर्म करती हैं. कार्डियक मसल्स हमारी सबसे लास्ट मसल फाइबर होती है और ये सिर्फ हार्ट में ही पाई जाती है. सो नेक्स्ट फिल इन द ब्लैंक्स इज द मसल ऑफ हार्ट शो रिदमिक डैश एंड डैश थ्रू आउट वंस लाइफ. तो क्योंकि हार्ट मसल्स हमारी कार्डियक मसल फाइबर्स होती हैं और कार्डियक मसल्स फाइबर कभी भी थकती नहीं है, तो हमारी थ्रू आउट वंस लाइफ they are able to perform this role of contraction and relaxation. Contraction and relaxation, जो कि हमारे जिसकी वजह से the muscles of heart, they show rhythmic contraction and relaxation because cardiac muscles fibers are present in them, which never get fatigued. They are involuntary in action and they never get fatigued. And this contraction and relaxation helps in the functioning of the heart, that is pumping of the blood. Blood का जो pumping है वो भी इसी contraction और relaxation की वजह से ही possible हो पाता है. There are other things also involved which we study in circulatory system. But this rhythmic contraction and relaxation which gives your heart the heartbeat इसी contraction and relaxation की वजह से आती है. And the cardiac muscles are only found in your heart. Okay, next one is the cells of nervous tissue are highly specialized for being dash and then dash the stimulus rapidly from one place to another. So what the cells of, as you know, the work of nervous tissue is to receive the stimulus. Okay, any external what we say, कोई भी external information जो आती है हमारे पास उसको हम stimulus कहते हैं, जो बाहर से आती है. तो जो नर्वस टिश्यू है ये जो है स्पेशलाइज्ड होता है इस फंक्शन में कि ये बाहर से आने वाली किसी भी मैसेज को जल्द से जल्द रिसीव करे. इसको बोलते हैं, जो बाहर से सिग्नल आता है उसको हम स्टिमुलस बोलते हैं. और नर्वस टिश्यू स्पेशलाइज होता है इस स्टिमुलस को रिसीव करने के लिए. सो दे रिसीव द स्टिमुलस एंड देन दे ट्रांसमिट दिस स्टिमुलस टू from one place to another within the body. So nervous tissue gets stimulated and then they transmit the stimulus from one part of the body to another part of the body quickly, very quickly this happens. So the blanks will be filled by stimulated and transmitting. The cells of nervous tissues are highly specialized for being stimulated. That means receiving the stimulus and then transmitting the stimulus rapidly from one place to another. This is what is the role of nervous system in our body. Okay, so like coming to the last segment, that is true and false. The first statement says the parenchyma is widely distributed in plant bodies such as stem, root, leaf, flowers and fruits. So as I told you, parenchyma is the supporting cell, very thin cells which helps in packaging of all the other special tissues which are present. It gives support to those tissues. So it is almost present in the almost all parts of the plant. Wherever specialized tissues are also present, there also parenchyma gives the supporting. So and it can be modified into Sclenrenchyma also, where it can perform photosynthesis also for the plant. So parenchyma is widely distributed. This statement is true. The next, Sclenrenchyma cells have large lumen and they can be easily broken when pressed. So this is obviously we have discussed it very much that Sclenrenchyma cells, they have the cell wall is deposited with a substance called as lignin, which makes it very hard, so it cannot be broken easily, which gives it stiffness and hardness. And the lumen is the central part of the cell, and it becomes very reduced in the case of Sclenrenchyma. So it doesn't have a large lumen; it is a small lumen because the cell wall is thickened and it reduces the cytoplasm inside, and the lumen becomes very, very small. And sometimes the shape of the cell will become thread-like or pointed at the ends, like fibers. इस केस में हम उसको fibers भी बोलते हैं. So here this statement is wrong. They have small lumen and they can not be easily broken because they become stiff and hard due to the presence of a substance called as lignin, which acts as a cement. So this statement is false. Next, companion cells possess numerous mitochondria and ribosomes and are supporting units of sieve tube. So as I told you, phloem में जो companion, the element companion cell is there, and this element actually helps in this support as a supporting cell for the sieve tubes. sieve tubes में जो active transport होता है food का, उसमें कंपेनियन सेल असिस्ट करता है. कंपेनियन सेल के पास बहुत सारे माइटोकॉन्ड्रिया होते हैं जो एनर्जी भी देते हैं और राइबोसोम्स होते हैं जिसकी वजह से एक्टिव ट्रांसपोर्ट में असिस्ट करता है वो. सो दिस स्टेटमेंट इज ट्रू. Next statement is permanent tissue can change their role and divide at any time given time throughout their life. So as I told you, the meristematic tissue के बाद हमारे जो permanent tissue आते हैं, तो permanent tissue they take up a specific, जो meristematic से permanent बनता है, that process is called as differentiation. And once the tissue gets differentiated, they take up specific role in the body. So their role cannot be changed. So meristematic tissue becomes permanent tissue after differentiation, and then they cannot change their role. Once they take up a specific role, they cannot change their role. So this statement here only it becomes wrong. And they divide at any time? No, they cannot divide because meristematic, once they become permanent, they do not divide. So this is a false statement. Next is the cuboidal epithelium is found in kidney tubules, thyroid vesicles, and in glands. So yes, cuboidal tissues are present over there. They have cube shape and actually they provide mechanical strength wherever they are present. So earlier I told you epithelium can be simple, epithelial tissue can be squamous when it has thin, it is flat cells and present over those places where there is exchange of gases or where some protection is needed. There you will have squamous. Then columnar is present over there where there is absorption, and cuboidal is mostly present at places where there is some there is a need of strength or rigidity. So these are present in kidney tubules, thyroid vesicles, and sometimes cuboidal cells also become glandular. So then they are present in glands. Cuboidal cells only become, they take up an extra role of secretion, then they become glands. So this statement is true. Lymph is a colorless fluid that is filtered out of the blood capillaries, and white blood cells are absent in it. So there is a parallel system which is running to our blood circulatory system, which is also known as lymphatic system. And in this, the materials from our blood is drained into the lymphatic system, and it is whatever is drained, it is known as lymph, and it is a colorless fluid. Whereas blood is red in color, lymph is colorless. Blood is red due to the, here again I'll discuss one point with you, that blood is colored red color due to the presence of red blood cells which have a protein in them known as hemoglobin. Heme is the iron part and globin is the protein part. Due to the presence of hemoglobin in the red blood cells, the blood appears red in color. Okay, and hemoglobin actually is responsible for transporting oxygen in our body. It is with hemoglobin that oxygen gets bind to. So again, coming back to this slide, that lymph is a colorless fluid that is filtered out of the blood, and white blood cells are absent in it. Actually, lymph contains a lot of white blood cells in it. So this statement is false. Next, the muscles which cannot be controlled by our will are called as voluntary muscles. So this is, we have discussed it so many times, the muscles which we can control are voluntary muscles, okay? The one which we cannot control are involuntary muscles. So this statement is false. Which cannot be controlled, involuntary, and which can be controlled are voluntary. Then cells of striated muscles are cylindrical, multinucleate, and unbranched. तो स्टीरिएटेड मसल्स के जो फाइबर्स होते हैं, दे आर सिलेंड्रिकल एज आई टोल्ड यू, दे आर मल्टीन्यूक्लिएट एंड दे आर नॉट ब्रांच्ड. Okay, so this is a true statement. Next, cardiac muscles are voluntary and can get fatigued if we run for long time. So, as discussed earlier, cardiac muscles never get fatigued. Okay, they have to perform their function throughout our lifetime, and they are not voluntary. That is, they are not under our control. They work involuntarily, and they can never get fatigued. So this statement is false. Next is brain, spinal cord, and nerves are all composed of tissue having nerve cells, which are also called as neuron. So our nervous system, the main component of our nervous system is brain that gives signals, that actually not gives signal, but it receives all the outside signal and then tells our body to do what is to be done. And along from the brain, the spinal cord comes out, and then it divides into various nerves, which are then given to all the parts, which take messages to all the parts of our body. So this actually is the main controlling system of our body. जो हमारा बॉडी का पूरा कंट्रोल और कोऑर्डिनेशन होता है, वो इन तीनों सिस्टम की वजह से पॉसिबल हो पाता है. इसकी वजह से हमारी बॉडी सेंट्रल नर्वस सिस्टम और पेरिफेरल नर्वस सिस्टम, दो टाइप के सिस्टम. जो सेंट्रल है वो ब्रेन और स्पाइनल कॉर्ड है, एंड जो पेरिफेरल है वो हमारी सारी नर्व्स जो पेरिफेरी पे जाती हैं टू अवर लिम्स एंड ऑल द पार्ट्स ऑफ आवर बॉडी. So they are all composed of this nerve cells, जो जैसे कि मैंने आपको पहले बताया था, जिनको हम न्यूरॉन्स भी कहते हैं. So this statement is true. ये न्यूरॉन्स ही मैसेजेस को एक्सटर्नल स्टिमुलस को ले जाते हैं, फिर ब्रेन हमको फिर बताता है कि what is to be done, and then again the messages are brought back by nerves. So this is true. So with this we come to the end of our this 1 mark question from this chapter. I think it was a little bit long, but I hope all of you enjoyed the session.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, for this beautiful presentation. और व्यूवर्स भी काफ़ी जो बच्चे थे वो लगातार कमेंट कर रहे थे, कमेंट बॉक्स में आंसर्स दे रहे थे क्वेश्चंस के. तो जो लास्ट तक बच्चे बने हैं, लास्ट तक वेबिनार में बने हैं, उनके लिए मैंने फीडबैक फॉर्म पेस्ट कर दिया है. मैंने बहुत अच्छे से एक्सप्लेनेशन दिया है, एक एक क्वेश्चंस का बहुत अच्छे से एसेसन, रीज़न, आपको कौन सा करना है, ट्रू फॉल्स क्यों करना है. और वैसे भी अभी आप लोग के स्कूल ओपन ही होने वाले हैं, पैंडेमिक पीरियड में आप घर पे ही हो, तो मोस्टली जो भी क्वेश्चंस होंगे ऑब्जेक्टिव टाइप ही होंगे. तो आप अगर ये प्रेजेंटेशन यहाँ पे आपके जो भी वेबिनार्स होते हैं उससे आप देखेंगे यहाँ पे, तो आपको इजीली आप क्वेश्चन पेपर अप्लाई कर सकते हैं, जो कि आपके 1 मार्क्स के क्वेश्चन रहेंगे. सॉलिड टाइप जो मार्क्स होंगे वो आप अचीव कर सकते हैं. थैंक यू सो मच मैम फॉर दिस प्रेजेंटेशन. और व्यूवर्स को मैं बोलना चाहती हूँ चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कर दें, जिससे कि जो भी अपकमिंग वेबिनार्स रहेंगे उनके आपको अपडेट्स मिलते रहेंगे. थैंक यू सो मच.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.